Hello. So in Unit 2, let's take a look at your objectives. Actually, you can look at your objectives. I've got a brief summary of your objectives. Basically, you're going to be learning about epithelial tissues, the skin, the anatomy of the skin, and the function of the skin, which is it is your first line of defense against invading organisms. And it is protective. And one of the protective mechanisms, besides just keeping things out and being a suberized barrier, which means a waxy coated barrier against the outside world, is the inflammatory response. And we'll talk about that in greater detail, but the inflammatory response has a lot to do with responses to infection, to allergies, responses to allergies, that allergens that you might breathe in and get against your mucous membranes, which is part of your epithelial tissue. Then cellular organelles, we'll do something for you on that. Cellular organelles are pretty important in terms of their function, and some of them are really neat and were thought to be evolved from invading bacteria that have become commensal inside our cells. They have their own DNA and so forth, and so we'll talk about those. But what I want to talk about in this lecture is mitosis. It's the other big idea in Unit 2, and it's a huge big idea. Mitosis is something that we learn about in biology classes, and along with meiosis. And meiosis, let me spell that one for you. Meiosis is usually covered under reproduction because it has to do with the production of eggs and sperm and division of cells to make haploid gametes, which then can recombine, male and female, to produce a normal 2N organism. So what is mitosis and meiosis? Well, your objective says for you to learn about the stages of mitosis. Who cares? Seriously? If you're into doing research as a PhD in certain aspects of mitosis, then you might care about those stages. But what's more important is what mitosis really does for you and what it is. Mitosis is one of the most exciting areas of research today, and so we want to explain that and try to give you something to really remember about mitosis. Most students who I talk to have had something about mitosis in high school or college, but they don't remember anything. So that indicates to me that we're teaching the wrong stuff. We're really teaching the wrong stuff. We need to be teaching the right stuff, which is the exciting news about what mitosis is and what it does for you. So let's talk about that with respect to the cell cycle. Okay, first of all, most people remember mitosis and they say, oh yeah, that's where the cells divide and make two of exactly the same thing. And nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing could be further from the truth. Let's look at the cell cycle. During interphase, this one right here, during interphase, the cell grows, cellular organelles replicate, and the cell does its job, whatever that job is. The cell might be a beta cell in the pancreas that produces insulin. It might be a nerve cell in the brain that produces signals for communication. But that's what happens during interphase. Interphase is not mitosis. Mitosis happens when the cell is getting ready to duplicate, not the cell, but the nucleus. In mitosis, the four phases they want you to learn, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase, and we'll take a look at a program that'll help you learn that, what those are. That is duplication of the nucleus in the cell, not duplication of the cell. After two nuclei form, after we've duplicated the nucleus, some cells then divide with one nucleus going to each cell. We call that cytokinesis. And it's possible that during growth that those cells are identical. But sometimes they are not identical. And that's called asymmetric mitosis, which is sort of silly anyway because it again causes confusion, because mitosis is only duplication of the nucleus. Okay? So what happens that, or what ways can we look at that mitosis does not duplicate the cell? It duplicates the nucleus, okay? That's what it does. So let's think about skeletal muscle tissue. Skeletal muscle tissue is multinucleate. A muscle cell can have 2 and maybe up to 5 nuclei. As it gets more nuclei, the cell gets bigger, but muscle cells in an adult do not divide. Somebody who is an exercise person who tries to build muscle does not get more cells. It gets bigger cells. And each cell has more nuclei. So a skeletal muscle cell is an example of a cell that does not divide and make more cells. But we talk a lot about stem cells. You've probably heard about that, and you've probably heard about controversies with respect to embryonic stem cells. Researchers used to think that we had to have embryonic stem cells to do research. Well, we don't. And it turns out that we can make any cell into a stem cell through a process discovered during the last couple of years by a Japanese scientist, I believe it was. And so we don't need embryonic stem cells anymore, and we don't have the controversy, therefore. People didn't understand the controversy, okay? So why is this an exciting area of research? Because stem cell research, if we can learn how to manipulate stem cells, then we can produce different tissues. And that's what happens during differentiation. As you grow, you start out as a single cell, and then over time, cells proliferate until they start to differentiate into other tissues. So a cell can become 2 different cells, not 2 identical cells. And new tissues can be formed. So you get different organs. You get liver tissue, lung tissue, skin tissue, muscle tissue, nervous tissue, all different kinds of epithelial tissues and so forth. Cellular differentiation is a characteristic of mitosis in action in your body during the growth phase. So we're going to look at some programs. This is one, and I'll put the link for you so you can get to it, but you can look at Virtual Cell Animation Collection, and then go down here, right here, Mitosis, Meiosis, pick Mitosis, and you can watch the movie, or you can look at the individual things here, these overviews, and you can learn about the stages of mitosis. I prefer this program because this program clearly says that mitosis is duplication of the nucleus. So it doesn't confuse, so you can pay close attention to that. There's the movie, you can watch that, it's a good little movie, and then you can learn about mitosis using this aid. Okay, the other thing I'd like you to look at is Molly Stevens' TED Talk, A New Way to Grow Bone. In this talk, she describes an amazing procedure they developed for growing new bone with your bone in you so that they can transplant bone in your body where it's needed. And it's sort of a good talk. It's pretty neat. Why do you want to do that? Well, in mitosis research, What we're trying to do with stem cells is learn how to grow new tissues that your body will not reject. And hopefully someday we can cure diabetes, we can grow new hearts, we can grow new lungs and new livers, and have transplant materials without waiting for a donor that's a match. And so if your body never rejects that, then that transplant, then you'll be in great health. Today, when you get a transplant, there's always some rejection. And so it means a lifetime of therapy to suppress your immune system, which is not desirable but necessary by the way we do transplants today. And then another TED Talk I want you to watch is Nina Tandon. And in this TED Talk, she describes a way that tissue engineering can be used and that mitosis can be used to test the effects of a drug on your tissues, your specific tissues, before you ever take the drug, thereby avoiding any negative side effects of the drug. And that's really neat. It's a great talk, so I hope you will watch that and enjoy that. And I will put the links to Molly Stevens, Nina Tandon, and the Virtual Cell Animation Collection with this video when I post it in the content page for you. Okay, so thank you much, and we'll see you at the next talk.